Today we're going to try and answer a question that I get asked a lot, and that is, what's the best workout I can do? Well, obviously, there's not one workout that you can do all the time that's going to be the secret sauce or the key to a huge increase in performance, but there is a type of workout that research suggests we can do and we can manipulate and turn into actually a few different types of workouts, even though they all stem from basically the same thing. All right, so let's get right to it. Coach Matt, what's the single best workout I can do to increase my performance in anything from a 5K to an Ironman? Well, it may surprise you to find out that that workout is really short intervals stacked on top of each other for varying amounts of time to manipulate the type of response I get for the given length of event. So we'll start with the workout that's going to give you the best response and is going to most simulate a shorter distance event or an event that has a lot of spikes in power or spikes in paces. And that's going to be 20/20s. Basically what this is 20 seconds all out followed by 20 seconds off. And what we can do with this is manipulate the amount of repeats we do, how many of those sets of repeats we do, and how much rest we take between those sets. So we'll start with the shortest, and that's going to be about 8 repeats of 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off. And again, 20 seconds on means full gas. You're going to be looking at about 115% of FTP average for those 20 seconds on, and between each round of 8, you want to take recovery that is at least half as long as that total set was. Now, if we alter that workout a little bit, we can change the response we get. So if we're looking to really target VO2 max instead of targeting this quick sprint power, all we really have to do is, instead of doing sets of 8 20/20s, we're just going to stack them into one big set. 20 times 20 seconds, all out, 20 seconds off, and we'll do 2 rounds of that. So what we've done is increase the total amount of work time and decrease the amount of rest within this workout. So you'll notice that, well, the power has to go down a little bit. And that's going to be a trend as we continue to manipulate this workout. Saying, oh, well, 8 times 20/20 is easier than 20 times 20/20 really isn't accurate, because in the rounds of 8, you should be doing quite a bit more power than you're going to be able to do when we stack 20 of them on top of each other and do that twice through. So if you're doing 20 rounds of 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, if you're really giving it a go and you're fresh enough to do this workout, you should be hitting about 140% of FTP on average for the on portion of the set. Now that last one is a really great VO2 max workout, and I want to emphasize something that I talked about in the polarized training video, and that is, if we increase VO2 max, everything else tends to increase with it outside of our absolute sprint power. So now we can manipulate the same type of workout just a little bit to touch on a bit of VO2 max and a bit of absolute sprint power. And what we're going to do here is shift from 20/20s to 30/30s. That's 30 seconds full gas, 30 seconds off. So if we want to do these in a training session that's closer to working on maximum power and not so focused on VO2, we can do a set of 10 30/30s and repeat that 3 times with, again, about a 2-to-1 work to rest recovery between the set. And if you up that rest, you'll move this workout even closer to the spectrum of being an absolute power workout. Now again, what's going to happen here versus the 20/20s is the average power you can hit for this is going to trend down a little bit, because 30 seconds is a lot longer than 20 seconds when you're going full gas. So you're going to target between the 130 to 140% of FTP range on average for the on part of the workout. Now, if we want to take these 30-30s and shift them way over to the VO2 max spectrum, even more towards the VO2 max spectrum than our last workout of 20-20s, where we did 20 straight intervals of 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, we take these 30-30s and we stack them into a 30-minute set of 30 times, 30 seconds full gas, 30 seconds off. And what's going to happen here is you're going to reach VO2 max if you're giving it a really, really good go about 8 to 12 minutes into this set. And then the 30 seconds recovery that you get between each on portion is not going to be enough for you to really drop down from VO2 max. So in essence, you're going to be spending about 20 minutes at VO2 max, which is the maximum amount of oxygen that your body can consume and process. You're going to spend 20 minutes there doing this type of workout versus if you were to do a more traditional VO2 max style workout where you did 4 or 5 or 6 repeats of these like 2-minute intervals to 4-minute intervals. Because in a more traditional VO2 max workout, you're just going to touch on VO2 max at the end of each interval before you get a big recovery and you fall away from there. When you stack these 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, you end up spending much more time at VO2 max than in one of those older style workouts, even if you find your power slipping near the end of the 30 sets. But of course, the consequence of stacking this long of a set is that your average power for the on portion is going to go down again. So you're going to be targeting about 120, 125% of FTP on average for the on part of these intervals. And the last way we're going to manipulate this type of workout is by turning it into something you may have seen a lot of long distance triathletes and long distance runners, talking ultra runners, do lately, and that's to do 40-20s. So it's 40 seconds full gas, 20 seconds off. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, that sounds a lot harder than 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, or 30-30. But again, your power is going to have to drop when you make the interval a little longer, and especially when you cut this rest down. So the first way we can use the 40-20s is similar to the way we use the 20-20s and the 30-30s. And that's by doing rounds of sets of these. So we could start with anywhere from 10 to 15 rounds of 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, and then take 5 to 10 minutes rest between each of those rounds. And if you split it up that way, you're going to end up targeting about 115 to 120% FTP for the on portion, the 40-second portion of those intervals. Now, to bring it way over to not quite VO2 max, but an above lactic threshold type workout where we may not get to VO2 max, but we're still pushing a ton of lactic acid and forcing our bodies to work on clearing that, we could do a full round of 40 times 40-20. And again, the power is going to come down, and on this type of set, you're only going to be targeting 110% or higher of FTP. But you're going to get the benefits of training your lactic acid buffering. And lactic acid buffering is really, really, really important for long distance events and short distance events. If you've ever done a workout called an over-under, or a workout where you're doing X amount of time just under 100% of FTP and then a little bit of time above 100% of FTP, that's essentially what that workout is doing. It's not focusing on VO2 max, it's focusing on that lactic acid buffering, and this 40-20 set is going to do essentially the same thing. Another way you can manipulate these is by doing them on climbs. If you're an ultra runner training for a mountain race, you can easily take the 20-20s and the 40-40s to mountain trails and really work on your uphill running. The same can be said for cycling. If you're training for an uphill time trial, you can do these on a similar grade to what you're going to be racing. But yeah, there's no perfect workout. I mean, the consequence of doing these workouts is the same reason why they work so well. The stress levels are through the roof. So you're going to get a huge response, but they're also creating a lot of stress, not just physically, but mentally, because these interval sessions are essentially, even the 40-second ones, by the end of it, you're just going as hard as you can to try and hold on to power. And if you've ever stacked workouts like that, it gets pretty mentally fatiguing, not to mention physically fatiguing. So the reason why I really wanted you to look at the polarization video is that doing these types of workouts has to come with a lot of very low intensity volume training, where we may do one of these sessions on a Tuesday morning, and then Wednesday is just an easy session, not getting above 65 to 70% of FTP. And an entire week, you may only be able to do 2 of these types of sessions, depending on your age and or your injury history. Now, to make you feel really bad about yourself, I have coached a couple of high-level athletes, and even myself, when I was training like a maniac and was getting really burned out, we would stack these into 2 a day or 4 every 2 days before taking a break. Because once you get really well trained at these, you are able to do that. In fact, it's not unusual for a professional cyclist in a VO2 phase to hypothetically do 1 of these on a Tuesday morning, 1 on a Tuesday evening, 1 on a Wednesday morning, and then maybe 1 on a Wednesday evening, and then get a full day's recovery between before starting that cycle over again. So that's a bit of a cop-out because it's not just one workout, but if I had to pick one workout to prepare for anything from a season of 5Ks to a season of half and full Ironmans or even ultra running, my intense sessions would all be some type of manipulation of what we just went over, anywhere from 20-second intervals to 40-second intervals, depending on the exact type of event I'm training for.